My name is Hartov. I'm a professor of engineering at the Thayer School of Engineering here at Dartmouth. And I'm technical director and instigator of the Dartmouth Jewish Sound Archive. The archive consists of two components, really. One is the repository of physical media that I have collected over the years, and this is just a very small portion of it that I'm working on at the moment. I estimate on the order of about 50,000 records downstairs that I have digitized. The physical repository hence is just one part of that. The other more important or more visible part of the project is the online archive, because I digitized those records to make them available for anyone who is interested in studying Jewish music, Jewish folklore, Jewish history, Chazanut, which is Cantorial singing, any number of things, historical recordings, documentaries. I have all types of audio material. Essentially, the criteria for what I include is that it has to be relevant to Jewish history and culture. So that's pretty broad. The material I get mostly from donation. A typical situation would be that some guy calls me out of the blue and says, I have this big record collection I need to get rid of. Are you interested? And I get calls like that from all over the country and even sometimes abroad. They want to know where to ship it, and I give them my address and he comes to my door. That's pretty much it. Well, I know I have one dating from 1904 of a young person singing some cantorial song in Hebrew in a very high-pitched voice, so clearly a young male person. Mosem Mirsky. Mosem is actually a complete misspelling of Moses. I don't know who makes the labels, but that's a common occurrence. The labels are totally messed up. People who didn't know Yiddish or Hebrew or even English sometimes were in charge of doing the labels. This is a picture of the label. They had some pretty labels back in those days. And this would be 1904. I also have cylinders. Unfortunately, I don't have good equipment to play them, so none of the cylinders that I have been transferred to digital yet. Cylinders became available widely in the mid-1880s, and people were recording on them, going on ethnomusicological expeditions in Europe, in America. The Songcatcher film is a good example of that. Dodili, this is a classic song from the Song of Songs. Well, it's not a song originally, it's a poem, but it's sung in many, many different interpretations, tunes, and so on. This is, how would you say, a little jazzy beat, maybe rock and roll. I'm not quite sure how you would place it. That lady that just sang Dodi Lee, her name is Rika Zarai, and she started in Israel, where she was born, she grew up, and tried to break into the music business there, and did not make it. So at some point, and I'm not sure when, she went to France, and she had a huge career there. That's how I first knew her. And you may know the song. If you grew up in this country, you probably heard the song Jerusalem of Gold, Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. Well, she did that one in French, so this is the version that she did. In 2002, I got in touch with a colleague of mine at Dartmouth who teaches Hebrew, he teaches Israeli modern society studies, he's in the Jewish studies and also in the languages, Middle Eastern languages department. His name is Louis Glinert, and he was impressed with what we had, and we decided together that maybe we should make a website for use by scholars and researchers and the like. The fact that it is used is very gratifying, but that was not the motivation that got me started. You might want to notice 54,315 tracks on the archive. We have had gradually more and more users. Our statistics indicated that there were about 350 a week of those, and a total subscription base of about 3,000 people. So this is If I Were a Rich Man in French by Ivan Rebrov, who was German but impersonated a Russian folk singer. It's a bizarre character right there.
Oh, si j'étais riche, oh, si j'étais riche,
the guy that I rediscovered recently was actually a huge success in France when I still lived there. Bensonhurst Blues. You ever heard that song? By Artie Kaplan. Apparently he was not very well known in this country, but one of his records, and possibly the only one he ever made, was a huge hit in France and in Italy. In fact, that particular pressing was made in Italy, the one that I have. And it's called Bensonhurst Blues.
Just say you are the best. Your face always smiling. Say you sure paid your dues. But I know inside you got Bensonhurst Blues.
I have about 600 programs, and this was published by the Israel Broadcasting Service and distributed in the US to independent radio stations who were willing to broadcast it. And those are little pieces of recording that last about 15 minutes each, and there are several in each program. And they cover a topic about Israeli popular culture, about Israeli music, about contemporary events, about a personality, say a writer or a singer or a political persona. All expository and intended to inform people about what goes on in Israel. In my estimation, they range from the late 50s to the mid to late 70s. So this is a French recording called La Haggadah de Pesach. And if you pay attention, this is an interesting instance also. This artist, Sami El-Maghrebi, is most likely from Algeria, possibly from Morocco. I haven't verified his origin, and he has emigrated to Israel at some point and has published a lot of recordings, mostly on cassette, some of which I have, of traditional Jewish Arabic singing. So this is La Haggadah de Pesach in French, by a Moroccan or Algerian artist. The business of transferring the records to digital format takes place here. Generally, the first step consists of washing the records, and once you have done that, you put them on one of the turntables. So I have set up the turntable so that the middle one has a stylus for 78 RPM records. I actually have a fairly extensive collection of styli that I use depending on the record, when it was made, how wide the grooves are and all that. So that requires a little attention. This turntable is for LPs. It goes into this amp and then the digitizer. I have several digitizers. But those are pretty good digitizer modules. I have some pretty good little speakers here, because since I sit here I don't need anything very big, but they're quite good to estimate, if you will, how well the record plays, whether I need to change the EQ or anything like that. And I have a special amplifier, preamplifier here for the 78s that allows me to change the equalization to some presets that correspond to settings that were known to be used by the various recording companies, such as RCA, such as Columbia. Obviously that is in the electrical recording era. Prior to that, everything was done acoustically, and those were not compensated, so the tone quality is not as good. I have a few amplifiers. I have a large 16 terabyte times 2 storage box there, which is where I keep all my transferred records, and hopefully if one dies, the other one will have all the information the other one had. They get copied to each other at regular intervals. This is my workstation where I work on cleaning up the track. So the process here involves first doing as good a job as you can in the analog domain, meaning using the correct stylus, the correct filters, the correct click remover on the preamp, and then what's left of noise and imperfections I work on with software that's specialized for that purpose. And in general the results are overall pretty good, but obviously if the record is very, very bad to begin with, there is not much you can do. Dartmouth College has been very supportive of the whole project, and even in the latest rebuilding of the site, that was pretty much done by Dartmouth staff entirely. I did not build the last incarnation of our site, unlike the first one, which I created from scratch. If you wanted to explore the archive, it is online, and it's at djsa.dartmouth.edu. And in order to access the audio material, you will need to be a registered user, because this is copyrighted material, and we just can't distribute copyrighted material indiscriminately. But if you have a good reason to investigate that, we'd be glad to give you access. And if you can't remember the URL, just search for Dartmouth Jewish Sound Archive, and you will find us.